Hello everybody. Oh, nagtitawag ka. Ay, okay. Bam, badam, badam, bam, 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 badam, bam, bam, bam. Alright, let's check myself. Ah. Just have voices. Grand Theft Auto 5. We promoted. Hmm. You're alive. Yeah, let's match. See how gap between this. Yeah, bitrate's stable actually. 2,200 kilobits per second was my chosen bitrate. 2,200 kilobits per second was my bitrate that I chose. Oh, bit lower actually. There go. Yeah, that's actually. Oh no. Whoops. What was I doing that? Now? Oh. Oh, wait, no. I don't. Hmm. Ah, was gone. Yeah, I should be back. A second. Hello. Right. Is this guy gone? Alright. Oh, alright. Let's do this. Oracle. World's largest trivia quiz website. Alright, I guess. Yeah, what's that? World leaders Venn diagram. Let's do US states. Like last time. Can you name the US states? Alright. I hope I didn't forget it after 2 days of not doing this. Let's go. Play this. Start with Washington, Oregon, California, then Alaska, Hawaii, then we got Montana, Idaho, then Nevada, then Wyoming, that's Utah, then Arizona, got Colorado, and then that is New Mexico, then this, okay, I remember this, that is North Dakota and South Dakota, got Nebraska, that's Kansas, then Oklahoma, then Texas, then the KFC chef, that is Minnesota. Oh, that's correct. Then we got Iowa. Where is that? Arkansas? Oh, that's Arkansas. What's just right beside Illinois? Right, just go with blue. Louisiana. That's Louisiana. Alright. Kansas. Wisconsin. Wait, is this Michigan? Oh, it's Missouri. Alright, then we got Illinois. This is Tennessee, the pan. Mississippi, then Florida, then Georgia and Alabama. This here are Ohio and Indiana. Then we got Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. Then this is Massachusetts. Then Rhode Island. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, then we got Maryland, then New York, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia. Then North Carolina and South Carolina. We got one more. 5. Oh, right. Rhode Island, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. What state is this? Oh no. Connecticut. Illinois. What state is it? Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire. What state is it? Connecticut is there. Right, I forgot. New Hampshire, New York. Got missed because I for news. Ah, oh no. DC? Oh no, oh no. It's not a state. Sorry. What's top? Oh, main stop. Massachusetts, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Oh no, okay. Yeah. No, not that type anything. No, it's not state. Oh no. What's the percentage? 98%. No, let's just go with the 49 over 50. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Iowa, Ohio, and Utah. States. Oh no! State did I miss? I think it's this state. No. Is this a different state or part of West Virginia? Maine. That's Maryland. Maine's Canada. Delaware. Oh. 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 God. Got Delaware. I nearly forgot Delaware. Oh. God. Let's go back to the TV channels. What's it stand for? TV edition. Right. Load. There you go. Right. Right. Go arts. Entertainment. Got CBS, WB. We got Fox. Extended. Brothers. American Broadcasting Company. They got movie Is it down right now? Response time 7 milliseconds. That's down more than a week ago. Okay. Oh, this was the last down. It's now up. Is it down right now? Let's check. Million pixel. $1 million question. Stay how many? $1 million. The $1 million homepage. Community guidelines and terms of service. Right. Web hosting. What's this? Free sports arbitrage. Odds comparisons. How does free grab you? Marks casino on net. Wonders web. Alright. A million pixels, $1 per pixel, and all the piece. Cheap CDs, rent clicks. It just makes life easier and it's totally free. Sublistonline.com. Yes, disable. Yes, spam clicks and redirect. Sublistonline.com. Go. Stress silence boys ships on their ships and stuff. It's all free. Thank you for it. Advance. Proceed. It's not secure. Alright. The best website hosting ever, only $1.99. Discover Cuba with the specials. So what's Castro? What's Castro? I'm rich, you're not. Besides, so feel too rich. Oh, okay. You cannot reach the website. Never mind. Expect that. him. Wait, how about if we just replace all tanks with NF? Inspect. Oh god. Oh no. That does not everything do the Philippine provinces. Vladimir who is not verified. Alright. Let's play. Alright. Go with NCR. Ilo Negros Occidental and Negros Oriental. Is Cebu, right? Yeah. Just do Lanao del Norte and Lanao del Sur. Zamboanga, Sibugay, and Zamboanga del Sur, and Zamboanga del Norte. Oh, that's number 28. Right? Oh, what? Eight is population ranking. We got Davao del Norte. Davao del Norte. Davao del Sur. Davao Oriental. Davao Davao. It's not included in the list. Get mountain province Batanes, which is number 82. 60 people living. Let's see what provinces I have in mind. Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur. Butuan. Caraga, that's a region. Camarines. Camarines Sur. Camarines Norte. Why do people always live in the south more than in the north? Why is that? Is the south much better than the north? Why do people think that the south is better than the north? I'll admit the north. Like, when I mean north, I mean Lanao del Norte. The north of Lanao. The Misamis. Is there no oh, see then 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 700,000, 800,000. There are only two provinces within a range of 800,000 people. 900,000 also in the 900,000 range. Just we got a million, 1.1 million, 1.2 million, jump to 5 million, 6 million, 1.7, 2 million, 2.5 million, and 3 million. Then we jump so much that we are at 9 million. People should populate NCR so it could be an even number. 10 million people. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Got Negros. What's more? Some more provinces. What are some provinces? We already done Misamis Oriental, Misamis Occidental, South Sarangani, Sul, Darat, Maguindanao. Then we get to Palawan, San Bohol, what's next? All what's more? Cebu, Negros Occidental and Oriental, Tacloban. Oh, Tacloban's not a province here. That's it, Tacloban. Oh, it's Leyte. Oh, Tacloban is not a province, it's a city. 31%. Wow, 9%. Leyte is 1 in 3. But in Tacloban City is 1 in 10. Jesus Christ. City, 360 miles southeast, was briefly the capital of the Philippines under the Commonwealth government from October 2019 till February 27, 1945. Can we get a time calculator? Let's just type calculator there. Open, open, open. There we go. Measure date from October. Let's go way back. 1944. Bam. And then we got October. And then 20. To February 27. Ah, so Tacloban City became the capital of the Philippines under the Commonwealth government for 4 months. That's quite sad, actually. Right. I'm actually thinking about later. Come on, later. Then got okay, later. The come on, more. Uh, people can guess an average of more than half of in this quiz. What can I guess? More than it. Um, the what? What is the come on? Oh, Christ Almighty. Yeah. What? I think this is the all the provinces I can think of. Masbate, Oriental Mindoro, and Occidental Mindoro. Samar, Sulu, Zambales, La Union, Sinan, oh, Isabela, South Cotabato, El North Cotabato, Tawid, Cagayan, Cotabato. Why am I doing this to myself? To city. This is where my grandparents live. Third class independent component city in the it's the most populated city under the independent component city status. That's why it's so different from the rest of Barm those regionals now, because it's a third class independent component city. It's an independent city that's not under Barm control. Independent component city. Those component cities whose charters prohibit their voters from voting for provincial elective officials. Independent component cities shall be independent of the province. Right, really city. This is the city where I currently making this video right now. It's a first class, highly urbanized city. It's not an independent in the question mark. Damn. Politically independent. Registered voters of the city no longer vote for provincial officials, provincial candidates, provincial offices. Geographically, yep, administered independently. We operate independently from the province. Once part of Central Mindanao, Northern Mindanao. In 2001, Ligan is approximately 90 kilometers away from the capital of the province of Tupod, approximately 800 kilometers. The capital of the Philippines, Manila. Ooh. Second is a second-class municipality and capital of the province of the Norte. 50,000 people live in Tupod. Why does it look like it just needs a star and it's already Ghana? Tourism, local government, 1986 and 1987. Transportation, education, sister cities. You know, really interesting. Downstream. You have to get by pirates and tribes. 1609, 1914, cityhood became as June 16, 1950, it was a highly urbanized city. November 22. Let's see the barangays. Villages. There we go. Oh, we're seconds on the list. Yay! But I actually have to change this because of something so insane. It's just so insane. What is this? Climate data. Record high, daily mean, record low, average rainfall, average precipitation days, and mean sunshine hours. That's a lot of all-time highs. Of course, the climate data. Climate data, come on. Shops of super soup was more again. Climate. Boom. 8 of 9. He resided in Indiana, helped him from maternal grandparents. There it is. Boom. That's quite a lot of record highs. God. The daily mean is 27 degrees. Record low in the year was 21.7. That's the lowest temperature ever recorded. God. Right. Inspect that. Come on. Where am I now? Politically subdivided. Lord God. What is cool now? Q1, Lalipa, Rubina, Mahayahay, Mainit, Matapulo, Maria Cristina, Peña Verde, Balaya. I've only been to Balaya once. Santa Elena, San Roque, Miguel Rogon, Panoroganan, Kabaksanan, Carmen, tiduran. Sit down. Kailangan. Alright. Let's watch some avocado. I'll YTP. Sorry, YTP.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the second channel. Let's go ahead and crack open a sparkling water.
Ooh.
It's kind of a disappointing amount of fizz. Boo. Yo, Perrier, put some more bubbles in your shit, dude. This was not good. Not enough fizz in this thing. I want to be foaming at the mouth when I take a sip of sparkling water. All right, this was too pleasant. I need to be assaulted. All right, we've had some really awesome posts in the subreddit the past couple weeks, so let's just go ahead and jump right into it. I'm gonna sort by top. I'm gonna sort by month. And let's see what people have been talking about. I hope it's me. People better be talking about me in here. I swear to God, if people are talking about some other thing or some other guy, I'm gonna be pissed off. I get on here and it's a subreddit for like Tobey Maguire or something now. What the fuck? They're all talking about Spider-Man now. I saw Danny and Laura at Disneyland on Friday. They were so Greg? They were so Greg. I guess it just says they were so, and then Greg is like the tag on this. That's kind of fun. Yeah, I remember meeting these kids. They were really cool. They were really nice. He was making this face the entire time, and it was pretty funny. So I appreciate it. Shout out this kid. Shout out all you guys. They were really face the entire time, and it was pretty funny. So I appreciate it. Shout out this kid. Shout out all you guys. They were really nice. Oh, I see you photoshopped my face here to match his face. That's very cool. I think because he was making that face the whole time, I kind of thought he was like joking. And so I said something like, oh, should we all make that face for the picture? But then he didn't acknowledge what I said and just kept making that face. So I don't know if he was joking. They were so nice. Okay, they finished their sentence. Lovely cliffhanger. Yeah, I gotta say. They were so what? What were they? You go in the comments and it just says, they were evil. Never been to Disneyland, but to meet Danny in real life would be so much better. That's very flattering, but Disney has the Star Wars land now, and going there was honestly one of the best experiences of my life. I felt like a little kid. You can see from the picture I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. Wait, alright. Check this shit out, dude. I built a lightsaber, so I think you spoke a little bit too soon when you said that, because you probably didn't know they had the Star Wars land. Someone said what was happening in the second photo because they photoshopped my face. Yo, what the fuck happened? Did his face really look like that? My face is like a totally different color than the rest of my body. Suddenly my sunglasses are gone and then they're back in the next picture. That would be mad impressive if I could do that on the fly, dude. Just all of a sudden, and then back to normal. Sunglasses off and then back on again. His face is purple and then it's back to normal. Where is Laura? Someone said. You can't see her? She's in Danny's right hand. Okay, I'm holding like a cup of Coke in my right hand. Nah, yeah, I was carrying her around in that cup because she got tired, you know? She's really small. Just renamed my gecko Grego. Oh, shit, dude. Is this the same gecko as last time? I mean, I assume it is. I don't know how many people own a gecko that looks like that, but let's see. I'm gonna go to this person's profile. Is this the same gecko? Wait, maybe it's not. Is it not the same gecko? Because really, I wanted the other person to name their gecko Grego. I don't know who the fuck that gecko is. That's a new gecko. Okay, now I gotta go back to the last subreddit video and check to be sure. Okay, come on, where was that shit? Bro, where was the gecko? Grego. Oh, there it is, okay. Groovy Island is the original poster of the original gecko, and this is Beetroot Squash. Dude, this is a different gecko. Oh, wait, they literally said right here, LOL, I'm not the original post, I'm someone else. Well, at least you got the memo. That was kind of meant for someone else. If anyone else needs me to give you a recommendation for your gecko name, I'll give you one, okay? It's just don't steal the shit from other people. Due to my critical thinking skills, I have deciphered this is not the same gecko, but an imposter. I've been meaning to say this. I think that ever since in the last video when I asked to get a little bit more critical thinking in the subreddit, we've been getting some really great posts and some really great comments. So you guys have been killing it with the critical thinking. This person was able to spot the imposter real lickety split. I mean, it's a cute gecko, don't get me wrong, but that is not the gecko that I knew. POV, Danny doesn't have a top comment on a post. Yeah, this is me. I sort of get pissed off and I destroy my computer from the 1980s, but I quit my job. This is actually what my office looks like from the other angle angle. If you were to look at it from like over here, I'm actually just in a cute.
No. Posted a lot of videos. You look at Indonesian sometimes, because it looks like this. Ano yan? Ah, Chistik. There we go. Agustus. Tinggal di sana selama sehari. Pancuran partikel. Now, just leave it at this. Go. Bing bing boom. Bing 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 boom. Bing 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 boom. Bing 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 boom. This. Malay dictionary. Humor you try to make with bland jokes. Bland jokes? Where did I see that? Oh, I tried to tell a joke.
Splitting into two separate provinces, Maguindanao del Norte in the north and Maguindanao del Sur in the south. I told a joke about
Ah. Ambot. Hmm. Oh no. Tik, tik, tik. Get the foot. Ah. Lah! Gerbang, gerbang. Don't you dare close your eyes. They're chips. Potato fries.
Ay, kana, di mo pasabot. Dali mo pa pasabot. Huwag na lang photo sa April 30. Sa April 14, nag-diretso na ako April 30.
Nagpa-color? Yucks! Gray! Katok, Jijimon. Gray unta. Ah, grabe rin yan eh. Ah,
Ate,
ay bakit yan?
kaya nahulog doon sa labas.
Ay, okay. Ah,
Both killed a stray dog and soaked a tricycle driver with muddy, very muddy water. And now we are.
very muddy water, eh? Keluarga saya menyaksikan. Menyaksikan. Ring, ring, ring. Wow, nomor satu. Baiklah, aku akan memenangkan ini. Ah. Oh, what? I've been live streaming for an hour now? Jesus. Start virtual camera. Right, there's no virtual camera. Stop. Uh, then I get... Oh, 44 frames drop. 0. Alright. Oh, no. Okay, guys, look at this. What? Ah. Why? Uh, eh, I don't know. Doesn't let me sign in. At least I can use this. Wait, I'm not signed in. God. Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury. Oh. Sign in. WB Kids. WB Kids YouTube channel? Okay. Matt KO! Ah, same. Never mind. Dididum. Hysterically.
Hysterically. Hysterically.
Mag-swimming class eh. Grabe rin yan si. Grabe yun.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Storytime. I am your host, Dan Brian Andalan, also known as the front cover of Fattest magazine. I know. October 29, a day where we began our journey. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Storytime.
Ano yan? Sabihan mo sa mama.
Much for watching this episode of Storytime. I am your host, Dan Brian Nandalan, also known as the front cover of Fattest magazine. I know. October 29. And we stopped for a layover at my mother's parents' house. And we stopped for a layover at my mother's parents' house in Barangay RH7, Cotabato City. What we did there was basically like what we did back in August. We were greeted with a shit ton of food. We sang karaoke, or they. Then we woke up, then ate breakfast, then we took a bath, then lunch, and then we continued our journey for 2 more hours. Then, at long last, we arrived again for the third time at Then, at long last, we arrived again for the third time at Isulan Sultan Kudrat. And oh, by the way, I just want to tell a quick story that happened when we were at our journey of going home to our house, this house, from going to Isulan. For my father's mother's birthday back in August. If you watched this commentary video back in June, you may remember Remember that I talked about the province of Maguindanao splitting into two separate provinces, Maguindanao del Norte in the north and Maguindanao del Sur in the south. I told a joke about that while we were in the car with my father driving. I said, why didn't they make a third province called Maguindanao Sibugay, which is a reference called Maguindanao Sibugay, which is a reference of the province Zamboanga Sibugay, meaning a part of Zamboanga that is by the sea. Then they laughed hysterically, even though it was just the five of us in the car, because the person who laughed the most hysterical is my aunt Jana Rahel Andalan, who is good at one and only one thing: infectious laughter in a good way. Take a listen. We did nothing Hello everybody, and thank you so much for watching this episode of Storytime. I am your host, Dan Brand.
Feel like you're doing the work of 4 people? With Monday.com WorkOS, you can put all your repetitive work on autopilot.
See, I work it down now. I got a bus moves going, break it down, yeah.
Saving time for you and everyone you work with. Work without limits. With Monday.com WorkOS. Open your free account today.
I'm so scared, y'all. I don't want to get oofed in WWE. All the while, we have the battle zone versus where this person is tweeting at. Literally, this was so many Americans on that website last week. I'm just going to blame it on the fact that most of our population probably can't even point to Ukraine on a map. Did you know that due to London's large size and congestion, it takes 180 hours to drive from Heathrow Airport to East London? If only it wasn't such a mess, it'd be so much easier to get from East London, South Africa, all the way to the British Isles. Dare I say, if they had a more efficient system in this airport, we might be able to get there in 179 hours. Western media, when a tragedy hits. In the green, we have the places that get 24-hour coverage, celebrity songs, flag filters, and lit up monuments. In the brown, they respond with, "It's a hopeless situation, let's pray." In the yellow countries, if some sort of tragedy is hit, Western media will usually say something like, "Well, we can't just be sad all day long, let's move on." And then finally, anywhere here, south of the Sahara Desert, they just literally do not care. It's been interesting to define more of these lines a bit more exact now, at least in Eastern Europe. Oh yes, and according to the media, the island of Tasmania off of Australia literally doesn't exist. Can't have a tragedy take place if the media doesn't even recognize you. Believe it or not, the counties in red have the exact same population as the counties in blue. I'm always so fascinated by this stuff. It's crazy. It almost feels like none of this stuff is actually true, but nobody ever actually double checks to see if it is true. But no, that obviously cannot be it. I asked my hostage to name every European country. Please don't tell the FBI. In the light gray, we have all the countries the small 8-year-old tied to the radiator didn't know because he responded with, In the dark gray, we also have but in a snarling tone. In the blue, we have, "Help, help, the tape has fallen off." And then all the countries that are in white is silence. I think he's just given up. If you're not going to teach the random kid that you've abducted and trapped in your basement geography, then what are you really doing with your life? If I wasn't on an FBI list before, I definitely am now. Coincidence? I think not. The leader of France, Macron, perfectly lines up with his country here and its borders. The entire world just better hope he doesn't break his nose and lose this little arch in it. He might be forced to invade Switzerland to keep this accurate. Study the picture given below and answer the questions that follow. Why Germany and France fought. What the hell is this? Yes, no Denmark. A thick Italy. There's no Mediterranean Sea. Switzerland's down here. I'm going to assume Germany and France fought because clearly they've been banished to some sort of evil shadow realm in which the Baltic Sea is also controlled by the Germans, and Scotland is in an island by itself. I'd fight the French too in this situation. A perfect globe basketball. Thank you for showing off the true region of Oceania. I've always known that small strip of habitable land that Australia has wasn't actually real, and everyone knew the Shire and Middle Earth was basically fake as well. Fun fact, the Eurasian Peninsula has an area over 30 miles. And thank you for including some of this other information, just coloring one part of Denmark blue, removing England, and removing a lot of Africa. No New Zealand, because as we saw, basketball doesn't believe in that either. Vietnam instead of Japan. Now they're finally showing their true colors. I refuse to believe there's something called continents. I think they're actually just giant islands, but no one wants to admit it. World map, but every country is an island. Wow. Well, like I said earlier, it's almost like every country is on one big island, so it doesn't really matter. The world would probably be a better place if we did this. Someone did a Google Friends, Ukraine versus Elder Ring. Brazil, what the are you guys doing? Really, Brazil? Really? Maybe people will actually start wanting to be banished to Brazil now. We'll not have to face the realities of the cold, dark world. I'm gonna be kind of excited now when people say, you are going to Brazil. Did you guys know Pakistan and Germany are only about 40,000 kilometers away? You can't go in a perfectly straight line though because of geographical regions and lakes and water and things like that. What are you guys doing? Really, Brazil? Really? Maybe people will actually start wanting to be banished to Brazil now. We'll not have to face the realities of the cold, dark world. I'm gonna be kind of excited now when people say, you are going to Brazil. Did you guys know Pakistan and Germany are only about 40,000 kilometers away? You can't go in a perfectly straight line though because of...
They said a place. That could be me in the future because I have here.
Prepare yourself for 19 of the most tragic, toxic tech fails of all time. From straight up bad ideas to some of the most malignant, harmful products to have ever existed. Number 1 is an absolute travesty. So number 19, you know how for the last... 60 years. The key input device to your computer has been the mouse, right? Well, in the year 2000, someone had the very bright idea to also make a cat to go along with it. This is the QCat. It was made to be able to quickly scan codes within newspapers and magazines, and then, because it's connected to your computer, directly open up a web page in your browser to learn more. Think QR code. It was a very easy sell to companies, because, you know, their newspaper ads would be more likely to drive sales if people were scanning them. And for consumers, well, I mean, everyone has a mouse. Of course, they're gonna want a cat, right? That's what I thought too before this one. Fudge. Are you proud of yourself? The problem was that the QCat completely misunderstood readers. Like, what kind of person is going to open up their newspaper in the morning, but then think, oh, wait, no, I might want to get more info about the ads today, I'd better take this up to the study and sit 10 centimeters from my computer to read. So, I'll give the QCat a 2 out of 10 on the fail scale. Why do the mice always win? Number 18. So, you know when companies launch smartphones, it's...
What is this? What? No!
not uncommon for there to be a flood of people complaining that it didn't have this feature or it didn't have that feature. Well, the ZTE Hawkeye is what happens when a company listens a little too much to this feedback. In January 2016, ZTE announced that they were going to build a phone based on what their users wanted. It might sound like a great idea, but they would soon come to realize that while their fans were voting for features that they wanted to see, those weren't necessarily the same features that they'd actually want to buy. And based on the most upvoted comments, what ZTE ended up with was an eye-tracking operated, self-adhesive smartphone. Or in other words, a device that you could operate completely through micro-eye movements, and one that you'd be able to stick to any surface you wanted thanks to a special rubberized material on the back. Problem was, how on earth do you follow through on that? ZTE had committed to building this eye-tracking tech before they actually knew how to do it. This adhesive backing was not actually for the phone itself, because if your phone is sticky all the time, it's gonna stick to things that you don't want it to stick to. So they applied the grippiness to the phone's case instead of the phone itself. And just to be able to cram all these wacky features in while keeping the price affordable, the actual specs of the phone sucked. It's a good example of how sometimes consumers don't know what they want. Hey, so Nike's a pretty cool company, right? Great shoes, cool tops, impressive tech. I mean, this is the company who came out with those self-lacing trainers a few years ago. But Nike's Magneto was not their coolest idea. The company was looking at athletes at the time, and they couldn't help but feel like these highly optimized, almost superhuman beings were being burdened by bulky, cumbersome glasses and headwear. And so their answer was sunglasses without temples, the bits that go over your ears. How did they stay in place, you might ask? Well, by gluing magnets to your face so that the glasses can snap to them. Obviously the much better solution. Is it fair to say they had no idea? I risk my case? Okay. Point is,
I respect.
dear, I risk my case? Okay. Point is, 3 out of 10 fail. Okay, welcome to a very unfortunate case study on the importance of naming. All the way back in the 1930s, one of the big companies companies on the rise was called
Oh, Michael.
AIDS. You can probably see where I'm going with this. This company had apparently developed a technologically miraculous candy that you could eat and it would fill you up to the point where you wouldn't have to have a proper meal and would therefore lose weight. And I mean, the concept of eating to lose weight is kind of everyone's dream. Milo would be a very thin cat, wouldn't you? Oi, 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 oi. He just ate that. So, when you combine that with some very loose advertising standards back in the day, how the papers were filled with AIDS ads, how it was being recommended by movie stars without conclusive research, this brand was understandable in 1981, where medical by movie stars without conclusive research, this brand was understandably, and ironically, ballooning. Until 1981, where medical officers at the Center for Disease Control decided to name the breakout deadly immune system infection that was spiraling out of control at the time AIDS. It did make the candy company viral, just not the good kind. It gave a whole new meaning to these ads, that's for sure.
Why take diet pills when you can enjoy AIDS?
3 out of 10 fail. There's no treatment for that. Okay, let's step this up another level, ever closer to the 10 out of 10 nightmare that is number 1. You might know this already, but I'm a big fan of IKEA. And actually, if you've watched my videos right from the very beginning, you might know that I've built this channel up by filming on an IKEA table. For a simple reason. They have a killer business model. Instead of selling pre-built furniture, IKEA instead sells customers the parts to be able to build that furniture themselves. This is what allows IKEA to make their products quicker. It saves them costs from assembly and shipping. Plus, it just means that when people build their own furniture, they grow that little bit attached to it. Kind of like Lego. Like if Lego just sold the finished sets without you needing to assemble them, I don't think anyone would care. However, in the mid-80s, IKEA suddenly had an idea. A way to take this philosophy to the absolute extreme. A sofa that you can blow up yourself using a hairdryer. It would be the easiest possible thing to assemble, and given how big sofas usually are, the ability to be able to send one in a form factor barely larger than a pizza box would save IKEA so much money versus their competitors. The slight issue though was that IKEA forgot the simple fact that hairdryers blow out hot air, and that plastic melts. See where I'm going with this? But even if you did manage to blow one up, these sofas weren't completely airtight, which led to a sinking feeling, and the fact that they were so unbelievably light meant that every time you sat down, they would move. So in the end, less of a stroke of genius, more just hot air. 4 out of 10.
Mag-Shopee na tayo. First mega sale na.
And on a similar note of overlooking a simple but very important fact, Nintendo. Now, Nintendo is a company not afraid to experiment, and the
Oh. to Sector 15 of the geography bunker. Keep it. Capital of France would be the largest state by area. B is the capital of Canada. A, which country is not Africa? It's C, which of these capitals is not in South America? Capitals: Quito, Asuncion, Brasilia, and Havana. Quito. Oh no. What's the correct answer? Is it Asuncion? I think it's Asuncion. Quito. Where's Quito? Quito. Ecuador. Ah, it's correct. Paraguay. What? Capital is not. What's the. What the hell? Should we play? So Havana's not in South America. Northernmost. That would be Reykjavik. These countries does not border the Baltic Sea. The Baltic Sea is. Oh, come on. So it's France, largest state. What is the capital of Canada? C, then D, we got A, so it's, oh come on. Paris, Alaska, Ottawa, Guyana, Reykjavik. That's it. Oh, southernmost: Canberra, Wellington, Buenos Aires, Juba. I think it's Wellington. It's Wellington. China is the border Peru. Ah, well, not Peru. Is it Chile? Come on. Nagpili pala si Kiana uling? Nagbike siya? Oh.
Power Glove was possibly the most extreme example of that. This thing was straight out of science fiction. It turned your hand into the controller. And if that sounds familiar, that's because this technology was actually what formed the basis of what eventually became the Nintendo Wii. And we can't say that the tech wasn't clever. Essentially, this glove has an ultrasound speaker inside of it. Say that the tech wasn't clever. Essentially, this glove has an ultrasound speaker inside of it, which can fire out a sound wave. You mount 3 separate receivers all around your TV, and then each one of those receivers would record how long the sound wave from the glove took to get to them, which then allows the calculation of the glove's position in the 3 axes of motion. If all 3 receivers record the same time, for example, then they know the glove is in the middle. People were absolutely blown away seeing their hands projected inside of these games, and initial sales were through the roof. But the company forgot about one quite important facet. It needed to be fun. I think they got so caught up in the logistics, making sure all old Nintendo games worked with it, and just getting all the tech into an affordable package that no one stopped to ask the question of, is holding your hand out for 2 hours at a time actually enjoyable? And is it actually a better form of input for 99% of games? To both questions, no. And so people quite quickly lost interest, and the Nintendo Power Glove was buried in the cupboard. 4 out of 10. Okay, you've heard of ESPN, right? The sports broadcasting company. Well, in 2006, they decided to build their own phone that would excel at keeping you up to date with sports. They built new features like push notifications for when a goal was scored, which laid the foundations of ESPN's future smartphone app. But the phone itself was, not a home run. For starters, they priced the unit itself at $300. Yeah, this, $300. But the worst bit is that they then charge people up to $220 a month to actually get new features. $220 per month. Who do they think the target consumer is here? Like, the Queen? Needless to say, very few people signed up. 5 out of 10 fail. And something I thought was quite funny is that the first time Steve Jobs heard about this phone, he said directly to the president of ESPN, "Your phone is the dumbest effing idea I've ever heard." Kind of sounds like a toxic relationship. You know what else we don't need a phone to do? Smoke. No, really, just a few years ago, the e-cigarette company known as Vaporcade actually came out with a legit smartphone that you could puff. It had dual batteries inside, and if you decided one time that you didn't want to use the vape, both could be put towards just using the phone. And there was even an app built into it that could tell you what flavor was loaded up and how much was left. They were actually pitching themselves as a way to get off smoking. Like, the app would alert you when you'd had more puffs than you should. I can kind of see the intention, but surely anyone who would possibly consider buying this would already have a cigarette they liked, with far more flavor options, and probably also a decent working phone. The lesson is, when you try to make a product that's 2 things at once, most of the time, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're not going to be the best at either, and so you're limiting your reach to really people who are specifically searching for both. 5 out of 10. What were they smoking? Okay, just before we get to the truly toxic fails, here's a social media platform that nearly had it all. It was called Yik Yak, and it was a really intriguing concept. Basically, you're completely anonymous, no username, no profile picture, and anything you post is visible to anyone in a 5-mile radius of you. So, you might have seen this coming. This app spread like wildfire at universities. I used to be on it too. Students would use Yik Yak like a running commentary on local life, posting things like, "Am I the only one who's falling asleep in this lecture?" Or that awkward moment when you lock eyes with someone in the canteen toilets. The fact that it was local content only made it super engaging because almost everything you see was relevant to you. And this made the app contagious, prolific. At its peak, Yik Yak was even ranked above Facebook in downloads. However, the app's biggest strength, the anonymity, was also its downfall. Because when no one knows who you are, people become the most extreme versions of themselves. The app started evolving from light-hearted jokes to just try and get the most upvotes, slightly creepy. I actually remember one time I was sitting in a lecture, and I remember reading a post that said something like, "That boy in red is looking saucy today." I was wearing red. I can see where they were coming from. I'm kidding. But no, seriously, I remember spending the whole rest of that lecture just looking around the crowd, trying to figure out who posted this, if they were actually talking about me, if it was someone who actually liked me, or if it was just my friends trolling me. On an anonymous platform, you've got no idea. People started using Yik Yak for hate speech, racism, and bullying, and you can see how, as well as being a super engaging form of social media, it also has all the ingredients for a terrifying, venomous platform. So then, it started getting banned. And with its now hampered image, it was tough to recover. But now we're in the top 10. We're talking serious, even dangerously big fails. So, when you think of electric cars right now, there's a pretty good chance that you think of Tesla. But in some alternate timeline, we may well have instead been talking about Elio Motors. This company started in 2009 with a very similar goal to Tesla: reduce emissions from cars. But they had a really different way of going about it. They realized that the number of people driving 5-seater cars with just 1 or 2 people in them was going up. And so instead of pivoting all the way to electric, which 10 years ago was seen as a bit of a gimmick, they instead decided to make normal petrol cars, but with just 2 seats and 3 wheels. Now, that probably sounds like a pretty dumb idea. But it becomes a lot more enticing when you realize that it would be half the price to buy, and because it was so much lighter, could be twice as fuel efficient, saving you even more in the long run. The issue seems to be simply the fact that making cars is hard. The sheer amount of money that you need to kickstart the manufacturing process just makes cars arguably the single toughest market for newcomers to enter. But without clear communication with their customers, over the years, Elio Motors has started to turn from the underdog company everyone was rooting for to one we're a little concerned with, to now suspicions of fraud. They've taken over 65,000 pre-orders and not delivered a single car. They've revised their delivery dates so many times we've lost count, and they've stopped replying to a lot of their customers. Given that people have been waiting for almost a decade for their deliveries now, it's safe to say, I don't think they're getting them. 6 out of 10 fail. Now, I don't think I've ever wanted a product more than I wanted the Scribble pen. A pen which, using a color sensor on the back, can scan anything you see, with then a specialized barrel that can mix various different inks to allow you to draw in that exact color you scanned. Tell me that's not the coolest thing you've ever heard of. I mean, clearly people thought so. Literally, this 50-second clip racked up over 7 million views. And the product's Kickstarter campaign passed its funding goal in just, get this, 24 hours. But then, a Redditor noticed something. That in one frame of this trailer, the ink that you see written on the paper suddenly vanishes. Why would that be? The only explanation that makes sense to me is that the pen in the video was just a prop, and all these drawings that we've seen were actually done with an editing program afterwards. And as the years went on, it became more and more clear that this company had made a promise to people before knowing how to follow through on it. It's been 10 years since that initial reveal, and still no retail-ready product. Just a load of shady, no-face-shown product unboxings of a product that looks nothing like the original. But of course, you've been able to pre-order it this entire time with your money being taken up front. This company is the definition of toxic marketing. 6 out of 10.
And in a similar vein of failed crowdfunding projects, anyone here shave? If you do, you're doing it wrong. Or at least you are, according to the Laser Razor Company. In 2015, this group of people released a video saying, shaving as we know it is far from perfect. It talks about how normal shaving is a disaster because of how it causes redness and razor burn. So, they built their own razor. It has a thin fiber stretched across it and a laser that travels down the length of that fiber in such a way that when this fiber comes into contact with the hair, the energy is transferred from that laser to the hair to burn it off. They sold it to us like it was a piece of science fiction, but they conveniently missed out the one important detail that their current best prototype could only burn off one hair at a time. I just can't. I don't even have words. Razer raised over $4 million in funding, but was then cancelled when enough backers started calling it a scam. 6 out of 10. While I don't think there were malicious intentions here, this was a tremendously bad product that nobody needed. And hey, if you like being told which tech products to definitely not buy, then a sub to the channel would be intoxicating.
Now, it's not very often that we see a viral game on the scale of HQ Trivia. It was a novel concept for sure. You could use your smartphone to not just watch a game show, but actually participate in it. Everyone would tune in at a specific time, they'd be met with an actual game host, sometimes a guest celebrity host like The Rock. It would feel like they were talking directly to you. And if you could correctly answer 12 questions in a row, you would be a winner, and you would get an actual cash prize split with anyone else who'd also done the same. This was a game like no other. Prize split with anyone else who'd also done the same. This was a game like no other. Being a live experience, competing directly against others, only having 10 seconds per question, having an actual cash reward at the end, the level of tension this could drive was off the charts. Like, this was someone's reaction after winning just $11 on this game. The difficulty, though, with paying the winners real money is that you gotta get that money from somewhere. And so as the number of users skyrocketed, the app just couldn't keep up with the funding. And so you were getting to a stage where, even though one quiz might have had a $100,000 prize pool, with the amount of players who ended up winning, each one might have only ended up taking home like $2. So the sheer stakes that the app initially had started to lose their appeal. And the app actually hosted one final quiz, with two hosts who were both completely drunk, who started swearing at the crowd, only then to reveal partway through that the total prize money for that quiz was just $5 because they'd run out of cash. $5 split between the 500 winners was 1 cent each. What a way to go. 6 out of 10, just because of how fast this went from phenomenon to bankrupt. You've heard of Twitch, right? The game live streaming platform that's absolutely flying right now. But how much do you know about Mixer, Microsoft's answer to Twitch? Microsoft correctly predicted that gaming was a huge and growing market. And so their whole idea was to basically make something that was just like Twitch, but with higher quality streaming. The thing is though, it is really, really hard to get audiences to shift social media platforms. Microsoft overlooked the fact that viewers aren't just there for the content. Each platform has its own communities, a sense of belonging, and really its own language. So no one joined Mixer, and when Microsoft realized that organically building their own audience was really tough, they tried to buy one. In 2019, they announced a deal that I think it's fair to say shook the gaming world. They basically paid two of the biggest streamers on Twitch, Shroud and Ninja, an obscene amount of money. We're talking $10 million and $30 million to quit Twitch and now post exclusively on Mixer. But even though this did bring in some new users, it was far from enough to start a new community. So Mixer died. But the funny part of it is that these streamers that they paid piles of cash to got to keep the money and were then free to go back to Twitch again. 6 out of 10. What a mess. Oh, but Microsoft is actually really good at fails. It must be contagious. Because they've also secured a place in the top 5 with Skype. Okay, so you know how pretty much everyone now, when they want to video conference someone, school classes, university lectures, work meetings, we use Zoom, right? Well, did you ever wonder what happened to Skype? I remember the year 2011 when Skype was king. They were so far ahead that their name was all but synonymous with the term video call. It was literally a verb. But then they got bought by Microsoft, who, long story short, got very complacent. They knew Skype was ahead in the calling experience, but instead of reinvesting to keep it ahead, they instead spent all their efforts bedazzling the rest of the app, bloating it with updates and features that no one really wanted, and slowly but surely allowing the competitors to overtake them in what mattered: video quality. They missed the fact that people didn't want to use Skype as a social media platform. They just wanted to send a link to someone, be able to have a clean, uninterrupted video call, and then move on with their life. And Zoom just did this way better. And so over the years, Zoom's market share has been trickling up, while Skype's trickling down. But as soon as the pandemic hit, this trend was catalyzed to the extreme. All of a sudden you had floods of people searching or asking their friends, what's the best conferencing app? Only to hear Zoom and then proceeding to download it. Within a few short weeks, Zoom zoomed ahead from 100,000 downloads a day to 3 million. And I think this sudden surge has been enough to cement Zoom as the default and bury Skype as a legacy platform. Given that Microsoft paid $8.5 billion for Skype, and they scuppered the entire thing within a decade, this is an enormous failing, worthy of a 7 out of 10. Now, this number 4, I was not expecting to put this high up on the list. On the face of it, it's just yet another run-of-the-mill failure, but the more I've looked into it, the more I am genuinely in shock at how this happened. Picture this. It's 2009. We've just had the iPhone 3GS, early Androids are starting to emerge, and smartphones are just starting to lift off. So, a company called Peak, who'd previously seen success with a device that only ran emails, decides to release a $200 handheld device that only ran Twitter. Not a smartphone, let's be very clear about that. This did one thing, and it did that one thing poorly. You'd see all your tweets organized in a list, but in this list, you could only read the first 3 or 4 words of each tweet. Any linked websites that took you off Twitter were practically inaccessible. It was incredibly slow, but even more tragic than that, it could only ever keep the 10 most recent tweets on it at any time. If you had more than that, which, let's be honest, someone buying a dedicated Twitter handheld probably would, you had to use your PC or you would lose them. I mean, this fail isn't putting anyone at risk. No one's losing billions of dollars, but I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because of how unbelievably stupid it is. Gizmodo labeled it so dumb it makes my brain hurt. TechCrunch said they were sure this would be relegated in the dustbin of history. I couldn't agree more. Okay, 3. You know, if you ask most people what Apple's biggest mistake was, they'd probably say, oh, Apple Maps, or the Mac Pro that looked like a trash can, or those socks they tried to sell people to keep their iPods in. But actually, I think Apple's biggest, most alarming and dangerous fail was the FaceTime bug of 2019. If you started a FaceTime call with someone and used a really easy loophole to make it a group call by just adding your own number into it, this would trick Apple into thinking the other person had answered the call. Just to be very clear, without their permission, with just a phone number, you'd be able to hear and see what someone else's phone was seeing and hearing. It was giving potential someone else's phone was seeing and hearing. It was giving potentially a complete stranger a window into your life. That is like a proper top-tier security risk. Good reminder though of how much trust we are putting into these companies. 8 out of 10 on the fail scale. Okay, at this point you've probably heard of cryptocurrencies, basically virtual money. And in this new world, you have legitimate cryptocurrencies that are founded on strong, watertight principles, and you also have scam cryptocurrencies, created by people to fool others into investing in them. And we've just seen one of the worst ones ever. Squid Game. Yeah, the Netflix show. If you haven't watched it, you'll at least have heard about it. This show broke so many records that Netflix actually decided to change their entire metrics for measuring viewership. And for a few weeks, it felt like the entire world was just riding this wave of Squid Game everything. People made Squid Game themed videos, they ate Squid Game themed food, they hosted Squid Game themed parties. Well, hey, that's one party that I'm glad I wasn't invited to. But also invested in a Squid Game themed cryptocurrency. Now, this was not official, it wasn't created by Netflix, but the people who made it did make it seem legit. The starting price was 1 cent per coin. And almost immediately, people piled on, all rushing in and buying, expecting the value to go up so they could sell and make a quick buck. And sure enough, within a few days, it flew, all the way to $30 a coin. And within a week, managed to hit an all-time high of $2,800. To put this another way, if I'd spent just $50 on Squid Coin at the start, I'd have turned that 50 into 14 million. But then people realized something, that unlike with most cryptos, where you can buy and sell freely, if you wanted to convert your Squid Coin back to dollars, you had to play a game. And the game didn't exist. The developers had promised that they were working on it, but it very quickly became apparent that they weren't. And you've probably never seen anything like the fallout that came after this. Within 5 minutes of the scam being outed, 5 minutes, Squidcoin dropped from $2,800 to 0.00079. Or in other words, your sweet $14 million would become less than $4. It wasn't really a failure on the developers' end. They walked away with full pockets, and still, no one knows who they are thanks to the anonymity of crypto. But for the overeager investors who didn't do their research, they lost everything. A huge 9 out of 10 fail. But still not on the scale of number 1. And just before number 1, do remember that if your favourite fail isn't on this list, I do have a whole series of tech fails. I will link them after this one. Okay. We all love a revolution, don't we? When someone comes and says that they're going to completely redefine something, it's an easy thing to root for. Well, this is exactly what Dr. Ruja Ignatova capitalized on. She was a strong promoter of cryptocurrencies and how they take power away from the banks and give them to the people. But she felt like the current leading crypto, Bitcoin, just wasn't quite right. So, came up with OneCoin. Bigger, better, and easier to use. A revolution. She basically took the things that Bitcoin does, exaggerated them, and then made those the features of OneCoin. For example, Bitcoin payments take 10 minutes to arrive. OneCoin would take just 1 minute. And she seemed legit. She studied at Oxford, she had a PhD, a successful career, she was on the front page of Forbes. The Trustpilot reviews for OneCoin were overwhelmingly positive. People didn't have a reason to not believe her. So, money started pouring in. And I don't mean a few million, $15 billion worth of cash was invested by people all around the world. She got everyone from the richest to the poorest people investing in OneCoin. People sold their farms and their houses so they could be a part of it, and then she disappeared. One day in 2017, she was meant to be on stage speaking in Lisbon, and she just didn't show up. No one has seen her since. Because it turns out that OneCoin was actually a pyramid scheme. Ruja and the people she'd hired would travel around the world, brainwashing people into putting their cash into her currency, and then convincing them to get others on board. They created a system such that if an investor could get another investor on board, they would get a commission on that. And likewise, if that new investor could then get another investor on board, they'd get a commission too. So, OneCoin had an almost cult-like following. Everyone who was in it had a very strong incentive to make sure it succeeded. The slight complication being that OneCoin was not actually a proper cryptocurrency. Ruja said that the reason it was better than Bitcoin was because it was based on its own unique blockchain technology. Except what that actually meant was it wasn't blockchain at all. It's like me saying, oh, this iPhone costs $100 and that's because it's running on my own version of iOS, which isn't actually iOS. And as a result, you couldn't actually use OneCoin to buy anything. And this is presumably why Ruja disappeared. She knew that it would catch up to her eventually, and so she vanished before it did. What I think is really interesting about this case is that if you knew what you were looking for, the red flags were all there from the start. Her being on the front page of Forbes was actually fabricated to give her more credibility. The website was rife with grammatical errors, even in one instance spelling cryptocurrency with an I. All those Trustpilot reviews OneCoin had, they'd all been left in one single month. Fake reviews. People lost everything. This was a horrific fail on a scale that crypto had never seen before, and I hope we'll never see again. 10 out of 10.
Things I do for these videos.
To check out the last Nightmare Tech Fails, that video is here. Or to see some of the biggest tech
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Nigeria. Which American state is in Grand Canyon? Arizona. Name a famous building. Eiffel Tower. Is the largest. North. What are Niagara Falls? On which continent is it? On Asia? Which is capital? Lisbon. We're now Egypt. No. Nile. Oh no. It's not Egypt. The river Nile runs through. Oh no. Oh no, I'm stuck. Where's it running from? Egypt and Sudan. So is it Sudan? Oh, capital city. It's Cairo. Beginning with T. 0, 1, 2. Oh, it's 2. Texas and Tennessee, right? It's Canada. Madagascar is an island off the coast. Which continent? What the hell? It's Africa. How many countries are there in South America? 18, 19, 20. No. 26. 31. 12. Oh, 12. Smallest. Is it San Marino? Oh, it's Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein. It's Monaco. Because it's the tallest mountain. Up sea level. Okay. It's Nepal. Name of the mountain. Everest. That one out. St. Basil's. Lenin's tomb. No. St. Basil's Cathedral. It's the Brandon. Which city has the largest population? Beijing. Oh. Just like that. What's the most populous country in the world? China. In which US city would you find the which continent? It's the South Antarctica. What's the longest river in the world? The Nile. Elevation Malta. Malta. Caspian. No. Mediterranean. Which city would you find Red Square? Myanmar is Burma. south there. Islamabad, Pakistan. Lies on the border. Let's see. Miami. Tallahassee. To find Red Square. Where is Red Square? Which city would you find Red Square? Moscow. What? Come on. Country, that's China. Antarctica. Large river, the Nile. The nations, the Mediterranean. Each city, Moscow, Haiti and Dominican Republic, Wales, British Isles, Great Britain. Yes. Which country's name contains Great? Peru, Papua New Guinea. 4 3 P's. Oh, the Philippines. Jesus Christ. How many Australian states are there? 11. It's 10. 12. 13. 9. 8. 7. 6. What is the only country with a non-quadrilateral flag? Nepal. Which island chain lies just to the south? Burma. State which you find Mount Rushmore. South Dakota. About Pakistan. Yeah. Jacksonville. Capital of Hungary. Budapest. What is the highest mountain in North America and from which country? Spain. Mexican Peninsula is home to Chicken Itza. Tijuana. Peninsula, the Mexican Peninsula. Yucatan, only communist country outside Asia. Cuba, Mount Kilimanjaro, Kilimanjaro, Tanzania, capital of Liberia. James Monroe. Monroe. Edinburgh. So it's Glasgow? It's Glasgow. What year were the first two states finals? 1959. Which modern country were they in? Babylon, Israel, Palestine, Egypt. Iraq. Japan is considered the birth of Venice. Rome. South. It's Naples. Naples. Oh god. Brazil, Suriname, Argentina, Venezuela, Peru, Chile, Colombia, Guyana, Uruguay, Paraguay, and then Bolivia. Oh, this stuff like too good. Oh, come on. Are you serious, too good? You're copying Bolivia? Okay. I'm just gonna end this now. Goodbye.